New track. While it's still wearing in, it slips off. Even if it's tightened like a guitar string, it'll still come off. Not the first time it's happened to us.
Right before a Frontline mission, the track slipped off a Ukrainian BMP-1. This incredibly tense moment nearly wrecked the entire plan. And yet, Poland has decided to modernize 1,300 of these questionable metal boxes. Why? And can this heap of steel be of any real use to the Polish army in modern war? Ukrainians have the answer, because they've already tested the BMP-1 the hard way under fire. So, sit back. Truth from the front is coming your way.
This here is the heater, so the squad stays warm. The warm air comes out through this top grate. And this? If the battery dies, another vehicle can pull up, plug in 2 emergency cables, and jumpstart it. That's what this is.
In the minds of Soviet engineers, this is what cutting-edge NATO killing tech looked like. Except there's a catch. How are you supposed to take seriously a fighting vehicle where one of the standard features is a wooden log strapped to the hull in case it gets stuck in the mud?
If the vehicle's crossing water, the squad pulls the doors shut, tight. These rubber seals help keep the water out. And if you get bogged down, if the vehicle bottoms out, you take that log, jam it under the track, and drive up onto it. That's how you pull yourself free.
It's hard to picture American M113s or M2 Bradleys using hacks like this, which brings us to Poland's challenge. Can the BMP-1 be brought up to NATO standards, or will it embarrass itself in a modern fight? Soviet BMPs are like newborn kittens, blind at night, deaf during combat, and armored like they're made of tinfoil. In today's war, riding in one of these is a one-way ticket, and the first FPV drone that sees you will punch it. That's why back in the 2000s, the Poles tried to break from the past and modernize their fleet of BWP-1s. Maybe it's too late, but maybe not. Sometimes too late is still better than never. And what makes the strongest case for the Polish decision? Frontline experience. Just watch the ammo cook-off in this Russian BMP-1 after it takes an FPV hit. Think it's a one-off? Here's another. The Russians tried strapping grills onto their BMP-1s and gluing rubber and even more wooden logs all over them, hoping to make them last longer in battle. It didn't help. That one also went up in flames. But what do Ukrainians think about all this? Is their experience any different?
Cons? If you ask me, the armor is really weak. It just doesn't meet the needs of this war. But the vehicle still gets the job done. It drops off the guys at the position. I deliver ammo, food, water, and I evacuate the wounded.
In 2019, the Polish company Wojskowe Zakłady Motoryzacyjne tried solving the BMP-1's armor problem. They proposed a modernized version with level 3 protection, but it never made it to mass production, and it's a real issue. On his very first mission in a BMP-1, one Ukrainian driver nearly didn't make it back. The lack of protection was so bad, he passed out right behind the wheel. Here's what that looked like.
The hardest ride was the first one. I was driving at night. First time taking the guys out. Total darkness. With the helmet on, you can't hear anything. I'm moving and boom. Something explodes like 10 meters away. I was in shock. I kept driving but had no idea where I was going. My helmet was crooked, my eyes full of dust. I came to when one of the guys hit me on the shoulder and flashed his light in my face. That's when I realized I was off the road. It was terrifying. Later I got used to it.
Impressed by this story? Give this video a like. More people need to hear about this. One of the reasons this driver ended up in such a bad situation? Outdated comms and no night navigation systems. That's where the Poles are ahead. After their 2017 upgrade program, Polish BWP scout vehicles received Harris and Radmore digital radios, ICT suites with digital intercoms by WB Group, passive night vision, ground surveillance radar, and new GPS and nav systems. Think Soviet engineers ever cared that much about their soldiers' comfort? Yeah, we've got bad news for all these Soviet aesthetic fanboys. Back in earlier conflicts, before drones flooded the battlefield, soldiers would often ride on top of the BMP-1. But take a look at what's waiting for those poor guys once the engine kicks in.
Вихід відпрацьованих газів. Так.
Right here's the exhaust outlet. And if someone sits nearby, that's what they're breathing. The driver too, if the wind's blowing that way. It's awful. It's a major flaw.
Ukrainians came up with their own fix to protect infantry riding on the armor in the rear. But even that battlefield hack comes with its drawbacks. There's simply no kind of cover in there.
Ми самі вже робимо.
We make them, the boxes, ourselves. This one doesn't have it, but some of the others do. They've got the boxes, but then the engine overheats.
The biggest downside, and at the same time the main advantage of the BMP-1 is its tracks. Off-road, it's a beast compared to wheeled vehicles. It powers through autumn mud with ease, but during long-distance marches, one unpredictable failure can put the entire crew in danger. You guessed it, it's the track popping off. Just like we mentioned at the start of this video, when that happens, fixing it is no small task, and we haven't even talked about the time it takes to get it running again. Let's hear it straight from a mechanic who's lived through it.
Часов 6-7 надо, щоб переобуть.
It takes 6 or 7 hours to get it back on. Depends where it came off. Sometimes it's in mud so deep, you can't even drive onto it. It happened to me. The track came off, and I couldn't get back on it. With one track, the vehicle drifts and becomes uncontrollable. We had to tow it with a Euro truck. We spent half a day soaking wet, fighting with it. It's a nightmare if the track comes off. That's why when I'm driving, I listen. If I hear the slightest crunch, I stop immediately. Then I can fix it quick. But if the whole thing flies off, that's it. If the vehicle stops, it becomes a target.
Despite all these headaches, the BMP-1 still has an ace up its sleeve. Mud is just one enemy. The other is water. So what does the infantry do when it's time to cross a river? Easy. Seal the hatches and trust the driver.
Пливе вона із-за того, що
She floats. She floats thanks to these ridges. She dips in like this. The tracks, with their cleats, keep spinning while afloat, pushing water out here. It channels through these side pockets. She can float for around 7 kilometers over water.
With weak armor and outdated internals, mobility becomes a breath of fresh air. In civilian life, time is money. At the front, time is lives saved.
First of all, she's really mobile, really smooth. If you're evacuating guys or bringing something up, she glides over stuff. She's got great maneuverability, even though she's old. I'm honestly satisfied with this vehicle.
As strange as it sounds, Ukrainian crews have grown attached to their BMP-1s. They're simple to maintain, and the question naturally arises, would they trade their BMP-1 for an American M113?
я вже з нею вже год.
No, I've been with her for a year now. I've gotten used to her. I know all her weak spots. There were times she broke down and everyone was in shock. I just said, I'll fix it. In seconds, I'd find the problem and we were back on the move. I never abandoned that vehicle.
Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming videos from the fiercest frontline in Europe. So, the BMP-1 isn't so straightforward after all. On one hand, it's outdated for modern warfare. On the other, it still performs surprisingly well in terms of mobility. But before jumping to conclusions, we need to talk about one more important factor: its armament. In its base version, the BMP-1 is equipped with a 73mm 2A28 Grom smoothbore cannon and a 7.62mm PKT coaxial machine gun. But how relevant is this weapon system today? It really depends on the mission. Ukraine's 24th Mechanized Brigade, which still operates this vehicle, was tasked with suppressing Russian infantry groups attempting to push forward.
We'll be targeting their positions, the route they use to move. They sneak in and hide in the brush. They've got little dugouts where they rest, and from there they try to launch assaults on us.
As the BMP-1 rolls out toward the Russian advance, Ukrainian troops launch drones to provide aerial coordination and better fire adjustment.
Now we're waiting for the crew to get in position and aim in. Then we'll start correcting fire. We'll hit where they're resting or grabbing a drink. We'll burn the forest down.
As soon as the BMP-1 reaches the sector, the moment of truth. The commander gives the order and the vehicle opens fire. The quick strike goes off without a hitch. But imagine if the Russians had anti-tank guided missiles or drone support. That kind of counter could have turned the whole fight against the Ukrainian side.
All good. We made it back in one piece, thank God. Now we wait for the next mission.
In this case, the BMP-1's standard weapons were effective against lightly armed infantry. But would it have gone the same way in a direct clash with a Russian tank or a BMP-3? The Poles didn't wait to find out. Back in the early 2000s, they started building Frankenstein hybrids of their own. The first result was a BMP-1 fitted with deco or sharpshooter turrets, each mounting 25mm cannons. Later, the Polish army considered integrating Rheinmetall's E8 turret, but that never made it into full production. Then came the next phase. In cooperation with the Swedes, Polish engineers developed a new turret equipped with a 40mm Bofors autocannon and a fire control system similar to the one used on the Swedish CV-90. It looked like a perfect solution, but the happy ending never came. The turret had one fatal flaw. The 40mm cannon wasn't stabilized. Poland didn't stop there. One of the later attempts to upgrade the BWP-1 involved installing the UT-30RCWS turret from Elbit Systems, equipped with a 30mm cannon. This version was dubbed the BWP-1 Puma. Ukrainians weren't sitting idle either. Over nearly 25 years, they've developed about a dozen different BMP-1 upgrade projects, most of them focused on weapons. These old platforms were fitted with Ukrainian-made combat modules like Spis, Volody, Parus, Stilet, and Squall. But only a few of these vehicles actually made it into serial production. The only versions that entered service were the BMP-1U, BMP-1M, and BMP-1TS. Modern war has made one thing clear. Having a large number of vehicles means nothing if they're just piles of metal. Quantity without quality is dead weight. Today, it's hard to imagine hundreds of BMP-1s launching a massive mechanized assault in the event of a Russian invasion of Poland. But if the Polish upgrades are done right, and if they apply lessons learned from Ukrainian battlefield tactics, then they just might pull it off. Those 1,300 BMP-1s wouldn't have to rot away in storage yards after all. And let's be honest, the Poles are a pragmatic bunch. They're not banking everything on Soviet leftovers. To boost their combat power, in 2023, they signed a deal to produce 1,000 brand new Borsuk IFVs, along with 400 support variants based on the same platform. But what do you think? Are Poland's upgraded BMP-1s a situational trump card, Soviet scrap metal, or a real tactical asset? Drop your thoughts in the comments.